Welcome back to Yerushalmi Yoma. We are Tesvav Yoma Daf. Now, so we're asking a Mishnah in Menachos, where it says every day they would put half a log of oil into the menorah for each of the containers there in the menorah, so it should burn all night. Me'ata, now, if you're going to say Ve'echad b'tkuvas teves, now are you going to have the same amounts of oil in the different months? Are you going to be the same in the teves, which is the long months? And Echad with Kuvas Tammuz in the summer months, which is much shorter night. You know, we're not going to. How can that be? You know, how can it be? Why the Chachamim, when Masechet a fixed amount of oil, you're going to end up Tammuz, there'll be a lot of oil left over, and you'll have to take it out and empty it, which is what we were discussing last time, right? Emptying the oil in the menorah. If that's your question about the oil, there's nothing to ask. There's an Now, there's someone in charge of the wicks. And he could make the wicks in line with the length of the night, so it would always finish at the end of the night. So although they use the same amounts of oil, you didn't have oil left over because they used thicker wicks, and therefore the oil got consumed more quicker. So the chashash of Shmuel bar Yitzchok, about the worry of the oil left over, we can learn that the oil that was left over would need cleaning out, and you can't use it again. Now, the second lottery, who's cleaning out the menorah? And the third lottery, who's going to be offering the ketores? Now, we've got a contradiction in the order of these two things. So, here we're saying Atoma, that first you clean out the menorah, v'akach makti, then you bring the ketores. And then but in the first parak, the Mishnah said, first makti, you bring the ketores, then you clean out the menorah. Rabbi Yochanan, Tamid, the Mishnah in Masechet Tamid is Rav Shimon ish mitzvah. It's like that view. In other words, the Mishnah in Masechet Tamid are based on the Mishnah that the menorah comes before the ketores. So basically, Masechet Tamid, and the difference between Masechet Tamid and our Mishnah is, the Mishnah in our parak and Masechet Tamid are according to Rav Shimon ish mitzvah, and parak Rishon, where the ketores comes first, is the Chachamim who argue on Rav Shimon ish mitzvah. So there's different views, and the Mishnah which is stam in Tamid are like Rav Shimon ish mitzvah. So he says, Rav Yaakov, that seems to be the implication. Rav Yaakov, no, not the whole stam Mishnah in Tamid is the view of Rav Shimon ish mitzvah. No. And the Chachamim argue, no. And a Milen Tzrichen Rabbanan. This klal is about the Mishnah Masechet Tamid, that sometimes where there's an individual view is him. We find other Mishnahs in other places which contradict them. The rest of the Mishnahs Masechet Tamid can be according to the Chachamim as well. But you may have some Mishnahs which are his view. He says the Mishnah Stam in Midas is Reb Eliezer ben Yaakov. That's the view of Reb Eliezer ben Yaakov. Again, we're not saying that all Mishnahs is the view of Reb Eliezer ben Yaakov and the Chachamim argue. We're not saying that. And a minute to Shechan Rabbanan. There are times when the Chachamim said, that's an individual opinion because there's contradiction against it, and that's Reb Eliezer ben Yaakov. There are other Mishnahs which even the Chachamim would agree with. Now, back to the order of the Dishon and Menorah and the ketores, right? And it depends on Machlokes Tanaim. My time of Shimon ish mitzvah was the reason that the menorah comes before the ketores. Every morning, when you're cleaning out the neros, the pasuk talks about first you're cleaning out the neros and then you're offering the ketores. Rav Acha, Rav Chinam, Shimon Rabbi, Tamid Rabbanan. The reason the chachamim the ketores comes first, it says with lighting the menorah, you'll light the menorah. Aaron, me'erev haboker, from the evening to the morning. Now the lashon yarocha, so you prepare it. Me'erev haboker sounds like shelo yehei sham. There should not be any other avodah from the evening to the morning. Ela tavas neros bavad. So the lighting of menorah should be the last thing in the day. All the other avodas, including the ketores, has to come first. So we learn just like the ketores shel ben abayim comes before the lighting of the menorah, so the ketores in the morning also comes before the cleaning out of the menorah. Now, the second lottery is which Kohenim will do the Tamid of the morning. Now, how do we decide Kohenim to do the Tamid of the afternoon? How do we decide that? They never made a lottery for the Tamid of the afternoon. And they said, if you did it in the morning, then Yizke, you can do it again in the afternoon. V'atani, we learned in a brisa, kapayis, like the lottery for the Tamid Shel Shachris, Kain Pasha Ben Abayim, is a lottery for the afternoon. Hazocha, the one who merits it, Zacha Le'asma, he gets it for himself. He can't give it to anyone else. So you see, there was a lottery for the Tamid in the afternoon. Rav Chizkiah B'Shem Rabun Bar Kahana, Tifto can explain the brisa in the case, Shahaisa Shabbos, it was Shabbos, so the groups were dividing in midday, and therefore you need two lotteries. One to do the Kohenim Mishma Abba. One is for the afternoon, the Kohenim of the new Mishma, to do the Tamid in the afternoon. The Echad, and one in the morning for the Kohenim of the existing Mishma Yotze, the Mishma that's about to finish their duties. Whereas the rest of the week, for the Kohenim serve all day, the one who did the Tamid in the morning, he can do the Tamid in the afternoon. Now, putting 2 logs of wood on the fire, right, on the Mizbeach. Amrav Yochanan, like Gazru, they didn't obligate to bring Eloshnei Gezirin B'Shachris. You have to bring 2 logs of wood in the morning, right? The Tamid in the morning, like you have to, right? But you don't have to bring the wood in the afternoon. Amrav Yosef, Masechet Yoma Daf came from the Mishnah. We can work this out. It says the Tamid Shel Ben Abayim was brought, and every day there were 11 Kohenim, because the Tamid brought 9, and then you need 2 extra Kohenim to bring. If you needed 2 extra ones for the wood, and then we add 2 Kohenim to bring the wood just for the Tamid in the afternoon. But we never said anything about the Tamid in the morning about this. So basically, it's like Rav Yochanan. The chiyuv of the 2 wood is not part of the Tamid of the morning. So what do we say? The one in the afternoon was brought with 11, because the Tamid was 9, and they needed 2 Kohenim to bring the 2 logs of wood. So the logs of wood was for the afternoon, right? Okay, but in the morning we never mentioned it. Why did they not obligate you to bring 2 logs of wood in the morning? Now, it sounds like he's asking on the words of Rav Yochanan, how do you know you don't bring the wood in the morning? Has he not heard Rav Shammai da Amar Rav Yochanan? They never obligated it. But Rav Yossi and Rav Yossi said, you see it from the Mishnah later on, where it doesn't mention bringing the logs only with the Tamid of the afternoon. So why are you asking what's the source? Why not in the morning? Then Rabbana went back from his understanding in the question. Rabbi says, "In du Shemia." Yeah, he must have heard Rav Yossi, like Rav Yochanan. Actually, you hear something, you ask about it. What's the reason for it? So here as well, you're not asking did it happen. You're asking what's the reason. So here as well, Rav Shammai Bai Lama Gaz Rosh Negezirin Ben Abayim. Why did they obligate the bringing the 2 logs in the afternoon? They did not decree about bringing the 2 logs in the Tamid of the morning. Very good question. We have no answer. Now he says here in the notes, in the morning they also must have brought wood. But what's the source that in the morning they brought it before the Tamid, and Ben Abayim they brought it in the while they were bringing the Tamid? The Bavli brings a Makar from the Torah to bring the wood in the morning, before the Avodas HaTamid. I think is asking why we'll do it in Ben Abayim slightly differently. Because we mentioned Shnei Gezirin, right? In Abba Shol and whatever. So he's saying, no, they do brought it, although we don't necessarily pass like that order. But anyway, so he's saying that they definitely brought it in the morning, but it just was done differently. It was done before the Tamid. Shloisha Asa, 13 Kohenim. Zayachin, by they were involved with the Tamid through this lottery. V'tani Allah, Pa'amim, there are times Abba, so 14 Kohenim. Pa'amim Chamisha, sometimes 15, Pa'amim Shishah, sometimes 16. Lo Pa'amim V'lo not less and not more, not less than 13, not more than 16. Kedarko, when it's brought normally, B'shloisha Asa, it's 13. Avachag, Sukkot in the morning, B'yad Echad Sochot Shamayim, one has a jug of water, for pouring the water, that becomes Abba Asa, so the Tamid then is 14. Every day Ben Abayim is Chamisha, so it's 15. Because apart from 13 Kohanim for the Tamid, you also need Shnaim B'yadam Shnei Gezira 18. 2 with 2 logs of wood. And B'Shabbos, the Tamid in the morning, B'Chamisha was 15. Because apart from the 13 we needed anyway, there was another 2. B'yadam Shnei Bezich and Levina, 2 of them have 2 spoons of the Levina incense, Shal Lechem Aponim, which was on the table with the Lechem Aponim. So according to that, Sandas Chamisha, he had 15. because the Tamid was 15, and the Shabbos, and together with the spoons. But the Shabbos, when it's Shabbos within Sukkot, you need to add the water on. So b'yadach hasuchas shamayim. So you add someone carrying the water. Harei shishas, so that is 16. Okay. Now, the last three things that the Kohen bring to the Mizbeach during the Tamid process. You have a flour offering which comes with the Tamid. You have chavitin of the Kohen Gadol, and the wine that they pour every day. So this is how do they do it? So we learned in the Brayso with the chavitin al machvas b'Hashem te'asem u'bechas tiviena tufin minchas pitim takriveach mechach l'Hashem. It says tiviena. So we darshan whatever you can bring, you should bring it before the other karbonas. So on the day where you bring karbonas musaf, you bring the chavitin lifnei musafin, before the musaf. Because when it says takriv, sounds like the chavitin is brought after la'achar nesachin, also after the wine which comes with the tamid. To tell you that nesachim come every day before the chavitin which comes every day. Here's the Neitani, there's some who learn that the chavitin comes kodem nesachim, before the wine that comes with the tamid. This goes against the previous price that says chavitin are brought after the nesachim. So Manda, the one who says chavitin comes first, before the wine, kodem nesachim, he means they're brought kodem niskei yai, before the wine that comes every day, but not before the minchas nesachim, the flour offering. Manda, the one who says chavitin comes la'achar nesachim, after the wine, he means they're brought la'achar niskei soiles, after the minchas nesachim, like that flour offering, but not after the actual wine, but not after the actual wine itself. So everyone agrees that chavitin is brought after the minchas nesachim of the flour, but before the nesachim of the wine. Okay? Right. Now, the reason why the flour offering comes before chavitin comes before the wine with the tamid, and we're going to discuss that. And we're talking about the other avodas which are done in the morning. So nesachim shel soiles, the flour offering, which comes with the tamid, kedemes chavitin, comes before the chavitin of the Kohen Gadol. Afapi, even though shezeh leishim, this one is burnt on the mizbeach and no one eats it. The zeh, the minchas nesachim, is leishim, is also burnt. But the nesachim, the wine, minchas nesachim, comes before shezeh, before the chavitin. Shezeh korban yachid, because wine is a private korban. Kohen Gadol has to bring it from his own money. But the minchas nesachim is a public korban. It's korban tzibur. And the rule is korban tzibur comes before korban yachid. Right? Now, chavitin koidmin levazichin. Chavitin comes before the 2 spoons of levina that are put down on Shabbos. After shezeh korban yachid, shezeh korban tzibur. One is public and one is private. And really you should put the korban tzibur first. But the chavitin comes first. Because they're tadir, this is brought every day. But there, the levina is in a tadir, it's only once a week. Now, what about the wine that comes with the tamid? Chavitin, kaidmin, leyayin. Chavitin comes before the wine which comes with the tamid. Shezeh leishim. This one's going to be burnt. For zeh, nesach hayayin was poured down the holes. The aletz falim. It was poured down the various pipes which were fixed at the top of the mizbeach. Bazichin, the spoons of levina of the lechem panim, ve'yayin, and wine every day. Mikadim, which one comes first? Maybe the wine comes first because it's always every day, and the levina is only coming on Shabbos. But isn't it clear the price of levina le'yayin? The levina comes before the wine. So what's your question? He says, here the price is talking about korban yachid, a private korban of levina and wine. Then the wine is not more tadir than the levina. So the Brayso says the levina comes before the wine. It goes on the fire and wine is poured down the pipes. Whereas our question was a korban tzibur, a public korban, right, of levina and yayin. On the one hand, levina is better than the wine because it goes on the mizbeach. On the other hand, the wine is better than the levina because the wine is brought every day and it's more tadir. A very good question. The Gemara does not answer it. Now, according to the order of the limbs of the animal when it walks in its life, that's the order of putting the limbs on the ramp and on the mizbeach. Kinim as this is the way to understand it. Rosh regel, the head. The regel is the back right leg, which they walk front first. They're first of all, hachazev agera, that's the neck and the chest. Ushtei yadayim, and the 2 front legs. Shtei defanis, 2 flanks. Ha'ikis, the tail, the regel, and the back left leg. The source of Ben Azai, is called Ala Mizbecha. You shall offer the whole ram on the Mizbeach. The word kol tells me it needs to be should be visible in a way like it's walking complete on the Mizbeach, right? Now, it's true according to Ben Azai, first he puts his Rosh Regel, now he puts his head and his right foot, his back right leg. But Atabahachim, so yeah, how can it be that this is the way the animal walks? I mean, you said its head and its back right leg. Since when does the animal walk first with its back right leg? Right? So how can you tell me that's the way it walks? You should put its neck first, its chest first. Amramana, Pashat Reishe Akaragla. When the animal is poshet, it puts out its head to start going, it also at the same time moves its back leg as well. Alright, and that's why that comes before the neck and before the chest. Okay? Halacha Gimel, Yokei Rabbi Sai, Payas Hashlishi, the third lottery. The person would call out, Chadashim L'Keteres, new people for Keteres, kind of who've never done it before. Bayu V'Hafisu, come and come and be part of the lottery. Ravi, and the fourth lottery, the one in charge of the lottery would call out Chadashim, those who are new, who've never taken the limbs from the ramp to the Mizbeach. Im Yeshanim, together with those who have done it before. Everyone can be involved. Mima Levarim, who's taking the limbs from the Tamid, Min HaKevesh Mizbeach, from the ramp to the Mizbeach. Okay, we're talking about the lottery for the Keteres, right? Amrav Chanina, Miyamav Lahevisadam Keteres. No one ever did the Keteres once for Shona and then do it again. Amrav Yosef Masnisa Amrakain. The Mishnah tells us this. It says before they did the lottery for the Keteres, they announced Chadashim Keteres, new people for the Keteres. So you see that if you've done it once, you didn't do it again. Both is can be in the lottery. Amrav Chanina, L'chein Lemachta. It's the same thing. One who picked up the pan of coals from the golden mizbeach for the keteres. Once you did it once, you didn't do it again. From the Bryce we see, the one who keteres, you tell the guy on your right, you also can do the lemachta, you can do the pan of the coals for the keteres. And it says, it comes out, Shnei Kohenim, two Kohenim became rich each time the keteres was done. Right? The Kohenim didn't do it again, so that the other Kohenim should also become rich. So the Kohen who took the pan also, he can't do it again. As Chanina said, right? Because it's like bracha ashirus. Now, two Kohenim will get a bracha. How do we know this? Rav said, the Kohen also taking the pan, they all become rich. In the bracha for the tribe of Levi, Yasimu Keter Ba'apecha, B'chalil HaMizbechecha, and then it says, Baruch Hashem Chela Pali Yadav Tirsa. So you see, the avodah of the Keteres it makes a person rich. And that's what it says, Chela, he'll be blessed. And then it says, Pal Yadav. It will also be on the Cohen who uses his hands to carry the coals of the Keteres. A person's hand withered. His arm withered. He had no energy in it. And even so, he didn't stop doing the Keteres. He tried very much to do it. It came to fulfill what it says, Mashanema, Baruch Hashem Chela Pali Yadav Tirsa. The one who brings the Keteres, we bless, he'll have a koyach in his hands. Halacha Daled. Is that right? Tamid Karb Tisha, the carbon Tamid can be brought 9 Kohenim. The Tamid can be brought sometimes 9, Ba'asara 10, Ba'achadasa 11, B'shnevasa 12, Lo Pachas Bo Yoseh, not more, not less. Ketzad. Atzmai, the Talmud itself is B'tisha is with 9 Kohenim, right? Then again, so 6 take the limbs, 1 takes the flour offering, 1 takes the chaviti of the Kohen Gadol, and 1 takes the wine. B'chag on Sukkot, apart from the 9, V'yad Echad, another one has a bit of water. Sukkot Shomayim. Hooray! So what do you have now? The Talmud is brought by Asara, 10 Kohenim. But Ben Abayim, the Tamid of the afternoon, Ba'achadasa is 11 Kohenim. Asma B'tisha itself is 9 Kohenim, and then 2 carry the wood. Yeah, but Shabbos, On Shabbos, even the Tamid in the morning is Bachara says with 11, because that's my position, 9 for the Tamid, and Shnayim, B'yodem Shnei Beziche, 2 with 2 spoons of Levina. Shnei Shadachem Apanim. We take it from the Shulchan to go on the Mizbeach. But the Shabbos, Shabbos within Sukkot, apart from the 11 we've spoken about, you have another one, Yalech at Sukkot Shamayim. One has the container of water, and that makes 12. Ayil, when it comes to a ram, right, a sheep in the second year, so he needs 11 kohanim. Habasa, the flesh is with 5. Akrovayim, the inners, v'hasaidas, and the flour, mincha, v'hayayin, and the wine, shnaim. Each one of them was carried through 2 kohanim. So you need another 6. Well, that makes a total of 11. Pa korba esrim rabah. The pa of an oila needs 24. A roish v'aragel, the head and the back leg, needs 3 kohanim, because a roish v'echad, the head with 1, v'aragel v'shnayim, and the regel itself, the leg, is with 2. Ha'ikes, bring up the tail, v'aragel, and the back leg needs 4 kohanim. Ha'ikes v'shnayim, the tail with 2, v'aragel v'shnayim, and the leg, which is the back leg, is with 2. Achazav Agera, the chest and the neck there, they require 4 kohanim. Achazav Achad, the chest needs 1. Agera B'shloisha, the neck area needs 3. Shtei Yadais, the 2 front legs Vishnayim with 2. Shtei Tefonis, 2 flanks Vishnayim with 2. So each kohen carries 1 flank. Krovayim, the inners V'hasailes, and the flour V'hayayin, and the wine B'shloisha, each one is carried through 3 kohanim. So in total you have 24 kohanim. When we say the Allah needs the number of kohanim, we said with kavanas tzibur, for public offering. But kavanas yachid, with a private carbon in ratzah hakriv makriv. If the one kohen wants to do it all, he can do it all. Have shaitan, removing the skin, nitzuchan, and cutting up shalei levedo of the common tzibur, common yachid, shaveh equal, that you can do them through a zar. Okay. Now, bringing the limbs of the tamid and the other inners and the common oil of a tzibur to the mizbeach, we said 6 kohanim. So we see a source of this. The word va'archu sounds like the kohanim have to be those who put things on the mizbeach. Now, it doesn't say how many. So yachameh, maybe it's 100. Yacham masai, maybe even 200. Look, it could imply a big number. So you can have a small number. Tefasta meruba lo tefasta. Tafasta. So if you took too much, you haven't got much. Take a small amount, at least you have what you hold. Yeah, don't take too much. Don't decide on too much a figure. So the lashon from Va'archu, lashon Rabim, that the Torah required 2. Yeah, that's the least you can get away with. It's a number. We don't know what number is. We go with 2, right? Not 200. Now, before the Gemara continues the source that 6 kohanim need to be involved with the oila coming from the sheep, it brings a brisa which was said in the words of Rabbi Kiva, about korban. It says ve'isha ki yazov zov dama. Actually, the pasuk talks about a woman who is menstruous and she is tameh, and the pasuk doesn't say how many days she has to separate for zava before she starts the 17 days. So Rabbi Kiva said we take the smallest amount we can take, which is 2 days. The brisa continues. He said, it could be, what do people do? You could measure, shtei midos. You might measure, let's say, 2 measures, achas kala, and one will be closing the shear which you want to measure, achas sheina kala, and one won't be. One might be a bigger shear which you want to measure. Now, everyone measures with a measure which you can use, and not with a massive measure. You want to measure a small distance with a meter stick. With a massive measure, it's not so easy. So here as well, you won't get the right amount, what you need. But as far as Lashon, the Torah says Yomim Rabim, right? So therefore it could be 2 days, which is that exact number. It could be more, we don't know. Amar Nechemia said, why is the pasuk? Surely he wants to explain things. Or does he just want to leave things unexplained? Surely, he wants to open things up for you. Im Omer Yomim, you're going to say Yomim is like Hasara, maybe it's 10 days. But I can say in an Elameh, maybe it's 100 days, or 200 days. Or even 1,000 days. And a Ribba, 10,000 days. I don't know what it is. When you say Yomim is Shnaim, 2 days, for Sachta, then you've explained the din. So the Svara makes sense that Lashon Yomim is 2 days. I bring another Tana, and he brings the right from the Pasuk that Yomim can be 2 days. But Mana Amar Shum Yehuda, so you don't need to learn it from other Psukim that Yomim is Shnaim is 2 days, from the Pasuk itself. Because Yachal, I might think the Cheshbon of Yomim is Harbe, is like many days, more than 2. We don't say that. Because you're going to say Yomim is Merubin Hein, you're going to say it's many. Valai, Fanem Rabim. So what's Rabim then? You already got many, it says Yomim, Yomim Rabim. So what's this? So Halai Diva, Elaba Yomim Muatim. It must be a small amount of days. The Kamahei, Navi'ayma, that is Shnaim, is 2 days. So that's the smallest amount the word Yomim could mean. Now if that's the case, then Rabim, the word Rabim, we must be adding another word. So it must mean Shlosha 3 days. Yachal, I might say that Rabim means Asara, maybe it means, 10 days. How do you know that it's like 3 days? So Amma, it says Yomim, but Amma, it says Rabim. So we explain like this. We compare the wording. Ma Yomim. Now Yomim is meal. It's the least you can have. So that's Yomim. It's 2. It's Shaim. It's 2. Rabim must be the smallest amount you can add on. So meal Rabim is Shlosha. So that's 3. Yachal, I might think. Maybe it means 2 as well. Maybe Rabim also means Shnaim is 2. And the Shlosha and 3 more days. But basically maybe it's 5 days. Because maybe it's 2 plus 3. Maybe Rabim is the 2 we have already plus another 3. He says you can't say that because it doesn't say Yomim ver Rabim. It doesn't say that. Yomim Rabim. Okay, so I say, how do you understand this? Rabim halalu yu merubin. The Rabim halalu, when it's this Rabim yu merubin, there'd be slightly more, one more ala shnaim on the 2. The Kamahain, how much are they? Havayima. Shlosha, that makes, in total you have 3 days. Okay? Now what is the source that you need 6 kohanim to take parts of the tamid and other kabbalah side of the tzibur, from the sheep? So let's see. It says, V'achu b'nei Aaron, the kohanim will take the various pieces. Achu is in plural. Right? Yachal, mea, maybe you think 100. Talmud says, V'achu kohen osam. No, in the singular, one Cohen can take things to the Mizbeach, many limbs. But if it said, V'acha Cohen Osam Yachal, I might think, Cohen Echad Erech Kol HaAvorim. Should one Cohen do all the limbs? Talmud Lomad, so it says, V'achu, in the plural. Okay, so how do you understand this? Cohen Echad Erech Shnei Avarim. One Cohen can do 2 limbs. So V'acha Cohen Osam, right, can do the limbs. Each Cohen can take more than 1 limb at a time, right? We're talking about the number of kohanim can be involved in taking limbs. So many kohanim can be involved. The kama hene varim. How many limbs are there in the sheep? Asara, there are 10. So you need, therefore, take the mizbeach like 5 kohanim, where each one can take 2 limbs. The acha, another kohen is bekravayim to take the inners. Nim, so it comes out tzleh that a sheep of Oila goes on the mizbeach with 6 kohanim. Rabbi Kiva, he says this din. That is 6 kohanim, we learn it from the pasuk. Now the pasuk says, and then so he says, you don't need any other pasukim. Aruchu is plural. It's telling you Ashnayim that 2 kohanim can bring an oila. Then it says b'nei Aaron, which is again plural. So that's Shnayim. There's another 2. And then it says HaKohanim. So that's another Shnayim, another 2. And total melamed shatzleh oila b'shisha. You see that a sheep can have 6. Okay? Right. Then it says another drasha. Let's just see what we're going to today. We'll get to the end of the pack. On the letter Hey in the word Hakonim, the rabbis Hakachim, to include people who are bald, they're kosher for the Avodah. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. That's the view of Rabbi Yehuda. Now this pasuk says with the oila coming from the cattle, not from the sheep. How can you tell me about Tamid Shel Shachar Kos Medaber? How do you know it's talking about the Tamid of the morning when it comes to the sheep? Shin Baba, Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yana, he says, Nema, Kan, it says with the power of the Oila. aricha, and you find v'nemalala, and you find with the sheep of an ayla that same expression, just like the ayla from the sheep. Talking about the time in the morning, the parsha talking about the parsha ayla, but the time of the morning is talking about. So we learn that the drasha that 6 Kohanim take the limbs of the ayla, right? Although it's talking about the parsha, it's talking about the ayla coming from a cattle, but it means the ayla just like the carbon tamid, which is coming from the sheep. So it's the reason why we're talking about drasha with the pasuk of the power of the ayla, but we're using it for tamid shel shachar. He says, "Ein asarich." I don't really need exer shav. We can learn it from the pasuk itself. I don't need to start learning from the power, the ayla of the power, to the tamid of the shachar. I don't need it. I can learn it from the pasuk itself. Now let's see. First of all, we go back to Rekiba, who says you need 6 Kohanim be involved with the limbs of the ayla offering, the sheep ayla offering. We know that's 2. Usually plural is 2. And therefore you're dashing the pasuk, you're saying Va'achu is Shnaim is 2. B'nei Aaron is not the Shnaim is 2. And HaKohanim is not the Shnaim is 2. Right? So 6 are involved in taking the limbs of the ayla. Now, how are we going to compare from this and learn it to Korban Tamid? The Tani Kain, we've learned Ein Lecha, nothing comes before the Kohanim, the Tamid Shel Shachar, the Keteris Bevad. The Keteris must come first. The Keteris is done on the inner Mizbeach. So the first carbon brought every morning was on the outer Mizbeach was the Tamid. The Tamid was the first carbon. And the pasuk of Ach B'Nei Kohanim that we learned you need 6 for the limbs of an ayla is about a carbon which is on the new flame, the new piles of wood as it were. And from here we learn that the Tamid is the first carbon which is put on the fire. Right? And that's what we're talking about. And it's brought with 6 Kohanim. But that's what it's referring to. Now we said a ram of an ayla needs 11 Kohanim. Why do you need so many? Surely even 3 Kohanim can do it. The ram on the Mizbeach. Why do you need 11? But Lama, if that's against why do you need 11? He says, all it is to make some noise. We want people to hear about it, right? Why is the power of an ayla brought with 24? Again, you can do it with a smaller number. And if we want to make it public into a whole event, in Hashem's house we will go with emotion, with fear, many Kohanim. So we take the ayla through many Kohanim who are involved. Now it says, Kohanim, etc., with the ayla coming from cattle, and we're using it for the tamid, that it needs 6 Kohanim. How do you learn this pasuk talking about the tamid from the sheep? Now it could be, that's what we said. We said it's talking about the tamid of the sheep. But nevertheless, we should use the pasuk in the straightforward way that the power ayla of an individual, let's learn it for that as well. Now, in the same way that this pasuk is darshan for the tamid, we could darshan it for an ayla offering of an individual, based on what the pasuk says. That you need to have the power, you need to have Shnaim, 2 Kohanim, and B'nei Aaron, that's another 2 Shnaim, and Kohanim and Shnaim is another 2. Mikan lePara Shel Yachid, an ayla, an ordinary ayla of a power which an individual brings. Shehei Kohen v'Shish, you need 6 Kohanim to bring it. Now, if you're going to darshan that, but we learn an aylas Yachid can be brought with 1 Kohen. We don't need 6. But if you're going to learn the drashas, we should learn the drasha for that as well. And say you need 6, but you don't need 6. It's a very good question. We have no answer. Okay? Some say, the Gemara concludes, that the power of an ayla, 6 Kohanim were involved. But our Mishnah says aylas Yachid can be done even with 1. So, okay, discussion on that. Adam alach rishayna, Adam alach rishayna, Adam alach rishayna.